Hey fam, it's Jeff. First off, let me say thank you. That's right, thank you. Whether you've been rocking with Overlooked Headlines since day one or you just stumbled on an episode that made you think, feel, or see something differently, I'm so grateful that you're here. You see, this show has always been about stories that deserve more light. Stories that get buried, ignored, or even misrepresented. Stories that impact our everyday lives more than we realize. And I made it my mission to dig real deep, sift through the noise, and even bring those headlines to the forefront. But truthfully, that mission, it takes time. Also, it takes energy and consistency. That's why I'm very excited to finally introduce to you the Overlooked Headlines membership tiers, a way for us to build this community together and to keep the stories coming that we present each week. Let me quickly break it down for you. Tier 1, just $5 a month. That's right. For supporters who want to stay informed, encouraged, and involved in shaping the show, you get early access to weekly podcast episodes, a weekly scripture plus summary devotional emails, and members-only polls and Q&A threads. That's Tier 1. For Tier 2 members, it's just $10 monthly to help us out. For those who want a deeper connection and some extra gems along the way, what do you get? Well, in Tier 2, you get everything in Tier 1, plus one of my free ebooks, which normally sells for $10 each. Also, a chance to be featured in our Be a Guest segment, a listener spotlight on the show, and the opportunity to submit headline suggestions or even send in videos reporting a headline from your own community. That's right, and we just might include it in a future episode. I'm out here sourcing these stories week after week, every week, reading between the lines, connecting the dots, and guess what? Putting it all together with care. That's right, you get more than just information. You get understanding. You see, your membership isn't just support, it's partnership. And it tells me, Jeff, don't stop, keep going. This matters. And I promise, every dollar, every sign up goes right back into making Overlooked Headlines better, bolder, and broader. So, if our podcast has ever made you pause, ever made you reflect or pray, I'm asking you right now to consider joining one of the tiers that I just explained. Let's grow this together. Why? Because these stories don't just need to be told, they need to be heard. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to Overlooked Headlines. We're the podcast designed to share headlines from America and around the world that have been disregarded or overlooked, but are critical to our lives and well-being. It's our mission to inform with the headlines and then inspire through biblical words, which we call His Lines, that once heard and applied will help to strengthen our faith in God as we navigate this journey called life. Now, here's the host of Overlooked Headlines, Jeff Bass.
Welcome to another episode of Overlooked Headlines. I'm Jeff Bass. Let me start off by saying thank you for your continued support of this podcast. Stay connected with us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Follow us on Instagram, leave your comments, and share. By the way, if you like the content we provide, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link on the Overlooked Headlines Instagram profile. By doing so, this helps us to provide more content. Now, here's our headline breakdown. 2 former U.S. Postal employees indicted for stealing $80 million in treasury checks, weathering the car market crash of 2025. Our top headline, dusting is a dangerous new trend among teens, and as always, we close with his lines. And now, our first headline. 2 former U.S. Postal employees indicted for stealing $80 million in treasury checks. Missing your tax return check and living near Philadelphia? Well, we might have an idea what's gone wrong That's because two former employees of the U.S. Postal Service in Philly have been indicted for their roles in a scheme involving the theft of over $80 million in U.S. Treasury checks, the Department of Justice announced last week. According to federal prosecutors, Tauheed Tucker, 23, and Sahir Irby, 27, both previously employed as mail processing clerks at the USPS Philadelphia Processing and Distribution Center, are accused of stealing thousands of envelopes containing Treasury checks, according to NBC Philadelphia. The indictment further alleges that Tucker and Irby sold the stolen checks to two other individuals, Corey Scott, 25, of Ardmore, and Alexander Telawota, 25, of Clifton Heights. Scott and Telawota are said to have advertised the checks for sale via the messaging app Telegram. NBC Philadelphia writes that once payments were received from interested buyers, Scott and Telawota allegedly mailed the checks out. According to prosecutors, those buyers then attempted to cash the checks, unaware they had been stolen. Officials report that while the total face value of the stolen checks exceeded $80 million, approximately $11 million worth were successfully negotiated at banks by the buyers. All four men face charges including conspiracy to steal government funds, theft of government property, and mail theft. Each could face up to 20 years in prison if convicted. In addition, Irby is facing separate charges of mail theft in connection with another incident involving stolen Treasury checks. We'll keep our eye on this headline. And now, our second headline, weathering the car market crash of 2025. The average negative equity on vehicles in the U.S. is $7,200, up from $6,600 just a few months ago. 1 in 5 car owners owes $10,000 more on their auto loan than their vehicle is worth. This financial strain is aggravated by the rising cost of living, from inflated grocery bills to soaring rent and mortgage payments. The writing is on the wall. The car market in 2025 is teetering on the edge of collapse, and the signs are undeniable. The inflated prices, astronomical interest rates, and a cascade of repossessions paint a grim picture for dealerships, manufacturers, and consumers alike. So, here's an in-depth look at what's happening and why. Across the U.S., dealership lots are overflowing with unsold inventory. Take the Ram lineup, for instance. Over 25,000 Ram 1500, 2500, and 3500 trucks have been sitting on car lots for hundreds of days. These aren't just base models either. These are high-spec trucks with sticker prices ranging from $67,000 to over $100,000. Even America's most popular trucks, like the Ford F-150, are struggling to move. Once considered hot commodities, they're now gathering dust. Even the Toyota Tundras, which used to fly off the lot in weeks, are sitting for 200 to 250 days on average, with dealers slashing $8,000 to $12,000 off MSRP just to entice buyers. Consumers aren't buying, and for good reason. Prices have skyrocketed, with MSRPs up 42% since 2019. Trucks that used to cost $30,000, like the Toyota Tacoma SR5, now carry price tag closer to $43,000. At the same time, trade-in values are plummeting. The average negative equity on vehicles in the U.S. is $7,200, up from $6,600 just a few months ago. 1 in 5 car owners owes $10,000 or more on their auto loan than their vehicle is worth. This financial strain is aggravated by the rising cost of living, from inflated grocery bills to soaring rent and mortgage payments. Today's interest rates are crushing buyers. On average, new vehicle loans come with a 7.2% interest rate, while used vehicles see rates as high as 11.4%. Monthly payments reflect this burden, with the average new car payment reaching $760. For some, the situation is even worse. 1 in 6 borrowers is taking out loans with monthly payments exceeding $1,000. Unsurprisingly, repossession rates have surged up 23% from last year as families prioritize essential expenses over auto loans. Wholesale values, a key indicator of market health, also have plummeted 18% in just a matter of months. Vehicles once considered assets now depreciate rapidly, leaving dealerships with unsellable inventory. Even auction houses, once a lifeline for dealers, are seeing cars going unsold. Manufacturers are feeling the heat. Nissan, for example, is in dire straits, recently announcing the loss of 9,000 jobs worldwide and a 70% drop in anticipated profits. The company plans to cut 25% of its production in the coming years. Stellantis, which oversees brands like Dodge, Ram, Jeep, and Chrysler, faces an uncertain future. The conglomerate has seen a 50% drop in stock value over the past 6 months and is considering trimming its lineup of 14 brands to survive. However, it's not all bad news. For years, dealerships leveraged low interest rates and tight inventory to dictate terms. Well, those days are gone. Today, buyers hold the cards. With inventory piling up and dealerships desperate to cover flooring costs, essentially the interest they pay on unsold cars, discounts, and deals are now abundant. If you're in the market, negotiate hard. Dealers need to move vehicles, and you have the advantage. Whether it's a Ford Bronco, Toyota Tacoma, or a GMC Yukon XL, there are significant savings to be had. The car market crash of 2025 isn't a question of if, but when. The market's collapse will force dealerships and manufacturers to rethink their strategies. Those who prioritize short-term gains over long-term customer relationships will struggle, while consumer-focused businesses may weather the storm. Stay where you are. I've got more overlooked headlines.
Still to come, our top headline. And don't miss his lines, right here on Overlooked Headlines.
Now, here's our top headline. Dusting is a dangerous new trend among teens. Recently, a Tempe, Arizona teenager, Rena K. O'Rourke, engaged in a dangerous trend known as dusting, or inhaling chemicals from an aerosol duster or keyboard cleaner. This decision tragically ended her life, and her parents hope this terrible accident serves as a wake-up call for other families. Quote, "We want to make sure that we use our tragedy so that no other parent has to experience looking at their child on life support and a ventilator and not breathing on her own because she huffed out of a can," Dana O'Rourke told Alive News. These inhalants are easily accessible to teens and can be used under the radar. Rena and her boyfriend had the product delivered to her house by DoorDash. More importantly, dusting is dangerous and life-threatening. Inhaling these sprays can cause heart issues and other complications almost immediately in some cases. According to Sylvie Stacy, an addiction medicine specialist and chief medical officer at rehab.com, dusting is a slang term for getting high by inhaling household dusting spray products. She says it's a form of inhalant abuse or breathing in the gases or vapors of chemicals. This type of getting high isn't new. Just the term dusting is somewhat new and is getting used more, says Dr. Stacy. Inhaling household products that can cause a quick high is a common way for teens to explore substance use because the products are easy to obtain. Many of them are already in teens' homes. She says things like whipped cream canisters, adhesives, paint thinners, spray paint, and keyboard dusters all may be used by teens for dusting, which is also known as huffing and chroming. Thankfully, inhalant abuse is not common, she says. Very few teens actually do it. Teenagers learn how to dust through social media, peer conversations, or even YouTube and TikTok videos that understate or exaggerate it, says Brooks Lape, co-founder of Start Your Recovery. Quote, she says, the use of drugs, including dusting, is greater than parents know among middle school and high school students because the products are affordable and easily accessible. And while inhalant use is less common than substances like cannabis or alcohol, Joe Licante, a licensed chemical dependency counselor with Texas Christian University, says young people may be more willing to try it because they don't know how dangerous it is. In the field of substance use counseling, there is a phrase we like to use. As the perception of risk decreases, the likelihood of use increases, he says. That is to say, if the risks around it aren't well known or they are easily dismissed, the more likely people are to try it. Products like food-grade nitrous oxide gas, model glue, or certain solvents can be misused in a similar way to keyboard duster to alter people's state of consciousness. Inhalant use is not generally physically addictive in the same way as other substances, says LeConte. As a result, teens don't become physically dependent on it, but those who use large amounts can develop a psychological dependence, he says. Once the product is inhaled, the user experiences a rush of euphoria that occurs almost immediately, explains Allison Tarlow, a licensed clinical psychologist and chief clinical officer at Boca Recovery Center. But the high effects will dissipate rapidly, leaving the user wanting more. Because of the short-lived high and the relative ease in which these products can be found, kids may want to use it again and again. If they stop using the inhalant, LeConte says, they also may experience acute withdrawal symptoms if they have been using large amounts for a long period of time. Some of these symptoms include irritability, disorientation, excessive sweating, and symptoms of psychosis, including auditory and visual hallucinations. In many cases, these symptoms can abate within several weeks of cessation, he says. However, damage to the nervous and cardiovascular system can be long-lasting or permanent in severe cases. The most obvious sign that your child is dusting or using aerosol cans to get high would be an abundance of empty cans in their room, bag, car, or garage, says Tarlow. People who use DFE frequently may empty as many as 20 cans or more per day. The high from inhalants is typically very short, usually lasting no more than 30 seconds. Therefore, the window of catching someone in the act is very small. Inhalants like DFE and nitrous oxide can also cause frostbite, says Tarlow. Your teen may have burns around their mouth, face, and hands due to extremely low temperatures of the gas when it leaves the can. You may also notice redness, irritation, or swelling around the mouth and nose area. Other signs and symptoms to look for include missing or empty aerosol cans or cleaning products, hidden aerosol cans or large number of cans in the trash, chemical odors on their breath or clothing, paint or other stains on their face, hands, and clothing, and slurred speech, just to name a few of the symptoms. So, talk to your children about dusting. Start with an open, relaxed conversation and avoid fear-based communication, suggests Lape. Ask them what they have heard about dusting and share facts with them without judgment. Conversations about inhalants can be part of the same conversations you have with your teenager surrounding other substances like alcohol, nicotine, opioids, or cannabis, as LeConte. By providing information about the risk and possible physical damage, you can change the perception of risk. Let us know your thoughts on this dusting headline. Don't move. His lines are coming up.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode, then we'll think you'll love connecting with us on our social media platforms as well, because we post frequent news bites, tips, and alerts to keep you informed and inspired. Now, let's get back to more overlooked headlines with Jeff Bass.
Now, it's time for His Line, where we take a closer look at these headlines from a biblical perspective taken from the Bible, which is God's Word. Our first headline today was about 2 postal workers indicted for stealing treasury checks. This is unlawful and horrible behavior. However, the Bible warns us about behavior and lifestyle in the last days, in which I believe we are living right now. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 and 2 reads, "You must understand that in the last days there will come times of much trouble. People will love themselves and money. They will have pride and tell of all the things they have done. They will speak against God. Children and young people will not obey their parents. People will not be thankful, and they will not be holy." The verse that I want to hone in on is people will love themselves and money. Why would people want to steal money? Well, one key reason is that they haven't cultivated a spirit of contentment. In other words, they're not satisfied with what they presently have. You see, contentment is not complacency. It is a Christ-centered confidence that what God has provided is sufficient for this season. The love of money often grows in hearts that are discontent, always seeking more, better, or newer. So, how do we cultivate contentment? First, recognize the lie of lack. Our enemy Satan uses fear to whisper to people that they don't have enough, in this case, money, so they will go to any measure to get more. Secondly, rejoice in God's faithfulness. We do this by thinking back on how God has always met our needs. I didn't say wants, but rather how he has met our needs. Philippians 4:19 reads, "And my God will give you everything you need because of his great riches in Christ Jesus." So thank him for providing for your needs, and don't focus on what you don't have to the point of lusting for or even stealing what others do have. I leave you with God's great gain formula taken from 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 6 through 7, which says, "But godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into the world, and we can take nothing out of it." That's his lines. For Overlooked Headlines, I'm Jeff Bass, keeping you informed and inspired. Be blessed.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you've been informed and inspired. Like us, tell a friend, and connect with us via Facebook, YouTube, or email us at neveroverlooked@gmail.com. That's neveroverlooked@gmail.com. Check us out next time on Overlooked Headlines with Jeff Bass.